Elohim that he says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. The same, the same authority given to Yahshua will be given to the believer in those last days. And that same authority is given to us now, that we can go forth and speak to people, helping them to come to an understanding of Elohim, that sometimes it shatters them so that they can be restored. This isn't judging them. This is simply speaking the word and allowing the word to do what it has to do. So, when we consider the polished brass as redemption and forgiveness, and we see iron as bondage and judgment, then we can consider the meaning behind Devarim 25:23, that says, heaven that is over our head, or over your head, shall be brass, and the earth that is under you shall be iron. That our redemption and forgiveness is found only in the realm of Elohim and not in the realm of humankind. So we've considered tin and lead to represent both division. Tin comes from the word bedil, that means to separate. And we've considered that lead is a type of heaviness of heart. But these are also types for people who are of reprobate minds and sin without a notion or desire to make teshuvah. Okay? And we get this in Ezekiel 22:17-22, that says, and the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, the house of Israel is to me become dross. All they are brass and tin and iron and lead in the midst of the furnace. They are even the dross of silver. And we talked about the dross of silver. Therefore, thus says the sovereign Yahuwah, because you have all become dross, behold, therefore, I will gather you into the midst of Jerusalem. As they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace, shall blow the fire upon it to melt it, so will I gather you in my anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you. Yeah. Yes, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and you shall be melted in the midst thereof. As silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, so shall you be melted in the midst thereof, and you shall know that I, Yahweh, have poured out my fury upon you. Now Israel, we've said, means that Elohim prevails. But Israel also has a dark side, in that it means to wrestle with Elohim. Israel refused to turn back to Yahweh and accept his redemption, deliverance, and restoration. We see time and time again that they strayed into idolatry, and they came back, and they strayed, and they came back. It is in this that we consider the wage of sin, but we also consider the work of the Ruach that through the fire cleanses those who will allow it, removing the dross and leaving the purity of redemption, which is the silver. Israel, time and time again, refused. We see that they were taken into captivity by Babylon. They struggled with Antiochus. They were taken again into captivity and utterly destroyed and dispersed by Rome. Time and time again, they refused to accept the redemption that comes from Elohim, the deliverance, the restoration. It is again our choice to keep the word of Yahweh Elohim, or to allow the dross that is our flesh to submit to the subtlety of the Satan. We can remain in bondage and forego redemption. This leads us to consider then the bricks that we lay. Brick in Torah is a symbol of the work of our own hands, and it's a type of false worship. So it leaves us with one final thought. Will you build your redemption with brick? Or will you seek to reside in the city of Yahweh, built with gold and set in silver? And then we finish it off with the choice is always yours. And hopefully there was enough information in this to give some insights as to why metals mean some of the things that metals mean. But it's something to think about. This is kind of a little different than where we've been, but I think it gives us some tools to put in our toolbox to think about our relationship with our Elohim and what to look for and how to change things in our lives that maybe need adjusting. Any questions on this?
Back in Ezekiel 22, and references like the lake of fire and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Is this possibly where some of the vision ideas of hell may have derived from?
Well,
The discussions of being burned and purified, and I mean, pretty strong words in Ezekiel there.
surely, surely that can come. You know, when we think about the furnace where the chaff is thrown, that's a different thing than an idea that we get from the lake of fire.
Right.
That's something that we'll touch on at a different time. But when the chaff is thrown in the furnace, whether it still has any of the fruit on it or not, it's all burned up.
Right.
But it's
Quickly.
it's burnt to dust, and there's nothing left.
Right.
I may have shared this with you before, but we watched a documentary one time about how they purify gold. And they took whatever it was, gold, brick, whatever, and they just kept purifying it and purifying it. And during, as it became more and more pure, you could see through it. It became translucent.
Mm-hmm.
So as they poured it out, kind of poured it out a long thing, and you could begin to see through it. And each time they purify out more of the dross, it would become more and more clear.
Yeah.
Just crystal clear. It was just unbelievable.
It's the gold. They use gold hammered into very, very thin sheets, and this is as pure as you can get it. Hammered into very thin sheets to put over the masks on the astronauts wear on their helmets.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
to
really
keep out the
fascinating.
rays.
Level of the attack helicopters even.
Yeah.
It's
So
pretty
reflects
fascinating to watch
that,
how
yeah.
it just gets clearer and clearer.
all right. Well,
Cool.
we've achieved grooviness.